Hi everyone, Savannah Tree Foundation Field Manager Jake Henry here, and I was walking through Forsyth Park making a couple other videos today, and I stumbled upon this tree that had recently been removed, and I thought I would do a fun little video on some tree forensics. Let's see if we can figure out what happened and maybe why this tree was removed. You know, tree health is such a complicated topic. We had our board member and ISA certified arborist Shem Kendrick talk about all the things that can affect trees, and you know, typically it's not just one thing. It can be a culmination of factors that cause a tree's decline or increase a tree's risk significantly. So let's see if we can figure out what happened with this tree. Now again, this is all sort of speculation. I just walked up on this, so this isn't a guarantee. I'm just kind of going, you know, off of what I can see here. Now, one of the fortunate things is I actually know what species this was because I walk through Forsyth pretty regularly. So I know that this was actually a sugarberry, or Celtis levigata. Sugarberries are a fantastic native tree, super important part of our native ecosystems. Currently there are some that are dying out right now. There seems to be some sort of bacterial disease that's affecting these trees. So that's my first hint. It could have been affected by some sort of disease or pathogen that was significantly affecting its health. Now, again, I don't know what the leaves look like. It's hard to say exactly, you know, what the condition of the tree was, but that gives us a hint. Maybe it was affected by that disease. So, hint one. One of the other things that we talked about with Shem Kendrick is risk. So risk is really important to think about in urban environments. You know, if a tree falls in the middle of a forest and no one is around to get hurt, there's no risk. But here in Forsyth Park, there is. Now this is a pretty good sized tree, just going off the base, the trunk here. You know, this is probably 3 feet in diameter, at least, more in some parts. Now we've got a sidewalk right here and a very busy road, Drayton. Depending on how tall it was, it probably could have reached that street. We also have another sidewalk here that is frequently used. Forsyth is a pretty popular park. We have some open space over here. Not as high risk, but still, people use the park. They like to camp out, have picnics, that sort of thing. So there's a decent amount of risk here. So when we think about a tree in decline, it's okay if it falls in the middle of nowhere. You know, we're not too worried. We can kind of let it go. But when it comes to urban environments like this, you really have to be careful with risk. Now there's one other thing I wanted to look at here, and we can see a pretty significant cavity of decay here. Now there's still a lot of healthy structural wood around it, but depending on which way the tree is leaning, how it may split, you know, if this tree, so say we've got 2 main trunks coming off here, that could have actually been a really significant weak point if this tree were to split in half in 2 directions. Now, if it was all one solid trunk, maybe not as dangerous, but it really depends on what the tree actually looked like before it came down. Now, these sort of cavities can be really challenging to identify. There are a lot of tricks that arborists can use to determine if a tree has a cavity or hollow inside of it. Shem demonstrated even just a simple mallet can help you determine if there's any hollow portions in here. There's actually more advanced technology we can use as well that sort of uses almost like sonar to determine if there are any hollow portions inside the tree. Now, that can be really expensive, difficult to implement, hard to find, but there are a lot of ways to determine whether or not there was a cavity in this tree. And then one of the other things that may have been concern is, you can see here, you know, this cavity was starting to spread, it looks like, along this edge, or it was pretty close to this edge here. And we really don't want to see too many of those weak points along the tree. And depending on what kind of fungus created this cavity, it's usually a fungus that creates this. It eats away at the wood. There could be pretty significant decay in the roots. And it looks like, see some white here. It could have been a white rot fungus. So that's a type of fungus that affects trees pretty regularly. And it can actually be pretty dangerous because it can decay the roots just beneath the base of the tree. Now, we talk a lot about roots and how important they are, And boy, are they important when it comes to structural integrity. So if that decay has rotted out a lot of the roots beneath the base of the tree, that creates a whole lot more risk of this tree toppling over because it's lost its entire root system. So gauging by the size of this trunk, there are probably roots way out here that should be supporting this tree. And depending on how far that fungus is down into that root system, it could be reducing a lot of that support pretty significantly. So that's another thing we have to be really careful with. You know, trees have two main important components. We've got health and structural integrity. The tree may look healthy, so we'll just take a look at this tree here. Lots of green foliage, you know, really full leaves, looking pretty healthy, but the structure can be a lot different. You know, the outside of the tree is really right here. It's where all those nutrients and water are flowing. That's it. It's incredible. Really doesn't go very far in. All of this is structural integrity. So if we lose that, the tree may look healthy, but it can actually be incredibly dangerous and weak. So it's so important to be able to identify those risk factors and make sure we're taking the appropriate steps to have safe trees in our urban environments. And again, it's all based on how much risk there actually is. You can see Drayton's a pretty busy road. There's definitely a good bit here. One other thing I noticed with this tree, I picked up this little piece of wood here, just a little extra cut that had been removed, and I peeled the bark off, and I actually can see some insect damage here beneath the bark. So this is another hint. Maybe this is another thing that affected this tree. You can see they're called galleries, where insects have sort of dug through the tree. And this is something, again, a lot of times it's not one explicit thing that kills the tree, but it could be a culmination of factors. Now, it may not seem like a big deal just having a little bit of insect damage here, but remember, the cambium, that really important portion that creates the xylem and phloem, is right here. So those insects are doing direct damage to one of the most important parts of the tree. This may not have been one of the major factors contributing to the decline of this tree, but it certainly can in a lot of other species. You know, we've talked about other invasives like emerald ash borer, really can cause just incredible damage in this really important region of the tree. So another important thing to think about when we're talking about tree health. I just wanted to do a fun little forensics on this tree just to see if we could figure out what happened. So those are some of the factors that may have led to the removal of this tree. And again, we always say right tree, right place. We want to make sure that that right tree is a healthy tree in the certain place. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Take care.